Kristin. Thanks again for stopping by my channel today. I'd like to share with you the card that I'm making for Craft Roulette, episode 266. This was pretty great parameters that Mr. Wheel gave us. We have A7 card, floral wreath colors, lyric or lyrics, and Cinco, which can mean 5 as well. So I went ahead and I have this die set from Waffle Flower, the famous postage die. Now this is an A6 size, not the standard A2, which would layer up really nicely on a 5x7 type card. I had one that I had made previously when I used this set that I didn't like how it came out, so I shoved it in the back to keep for a later date and time. Here's an example of some of the pieces. Well, waste not, want not. So I took that piece of paper and cut them up into individual squares and decided to use that on my card. I just did the fancy dancy flip it on over to go ahead and use it. Yes, on die cuts, as many of us know, you get the pretty front side and you got the okay on the back side. I thought the back side looked decent enough, so I went ahead just to use it. While I didn't necessarily stencil, I do have the coordinating A6 size stencil to go with the die. I used it more to get some measurements out of here because I thought it'd be a little bit easier to measure here than the die, but you will see that shortly. I'm going to also do some gluing here too, so hold on just a minute. Oh, but this, let me tell you here about this. I really wanted to use this lyric, this phrase, for my card. Didn't have it in my stash at all, shockingly, so I went ahead and made one up. I first started at Canva. Maybe this is the longer process, but this is just what I did, and made a little sentiment rectangle that I knew would fit because I wanted to use this particular size from the postage die, and just played around with their fonts that they have and making text boxes and moving them up and down. And I was like, okay, black is good because I knew I was going to stamp some images in black, so that would pull it all together. Probably would have been fun to do it in like a dark green, but hey, now I've got plenty of sentiments left to go. Once I downloaded the little sentiment that I made in Canva, I used my Word program and made multiple copies because I wasn't sure if I was going to actually die cut that out or if I was just going to cut around it to mat inside the die, but that's okay. I figured it out, as you will see. And I got plenty of extras in case I recreate this card in the future or need this sentiment again. I had this paper in my stash, perfect for a 5x7 card. And I like this green one since I was doing a jungle type theme. I have this stamp set from Diamond Press that I've had in my stash that, well, I've only used once before, so I was really happy to be able to get this out again. It had some cute little jungle animals. As you can see, I've used the elephant and the lion before. I also added the sloth, the flamingo, and there's these 2 parrots in there that I've used before, but I didn't use this time. So here we go, and here's something that I created, and I'm just going to finish gluing this down while we talk a little bit more. So I started with a yellow card base. Again, 5x7 that I had in my stash. This is just some temporary adhesive that I used to hold down my layers so I could kind of see how things were progressing along without always having things too wonky. I do that sometimes when I'm auditioning different colors or pieces, just to kind of hold things in place a little bit smoother for me. Doesn't always happen, but you know, sometimes it does. Okay, so I'm just going to add some glue. So I had this yellow card base in my stash, and the background piece I was going to use had some yellow and green to it. And so I thought, well, with the yellow, that would really make the piece of paper I was going to use, you wouldn't see the yellow probably quite as much, and you'd pick up on more of the green. Well, didn't end up using that one, but that's okay. I kind of liked how this craft paper looked as a small background. It's not my favorite color of craft paper in my stash. I do have some other ones. I had picked this up at my local crafty resale store, so I'm okay with not gutting it of how I might if this, say, was a pretty gold piece of paper. From that wood grain paper, I went ahead and cut this green one down to fit into a matte size, and so I kind of really liked that. Plus I get to use something from my stash, so that's really an extra bonus for me. Okie dokie. That's almost there. When I cut it down, I noticed how the wood planks, like, it cut down like really thin here, a little bit thicker there with some nice chunkier boards in between. I did, when I was kind of playing around with moving these around, kind of auditioning, if you will, I liked how the smaller piece was just a little bit more up top than I did at the bottom. So that's why I put it that way. But hey, maybe you prefer it the other way if you were making a card similar to this. Totally fine. It would look great, I bet. And if you do something like that, oh, please let me know. I would love to see it. Now, here is the little animal guys. I did an elephant, a Mr. King of the Jungle, a flamingo and a sloth. I kind of kept them simple. I was not in the mood to color, so I didn't. I just colored the backgrounds in using some of the Stampin' Up! Alcohol markers that they call Stampin' Blends. And I kind of liked how that looked. King of the Jungle needed a little bit more of a yellow. Since I already had a yellow in the background, I went with this light peach pie color to add a little more of a golden warm tone to him. Mr. or Mrs. Elefante is a light shy shamrock color, which is kind of a greenish, as you would imagine from the name of the color. This one is light Petunia pop, so it added this kind of purpley grape juice kind of color. And for the flamingo, I had to, of course, go with Pretty in Pink. I did use the dark version of Pretty in Pink. I thought the tone went better with that than perhaps a slightly lighter one. I did kind of write out some of the ones that I have in my stash. I don't have the Pretty in Pink in here, but it was a lighter shade than that. And again, the dark, I just thought kind of matched that a little bit better. Oop, let's put the topper on the glue so we don't dry out. Now, for the background of all these cutesy little pieces, oopsie, I had this together as the postage stamps. And well, here was the front side. It just, I mean, look at that big old blob. A little cute little hedgy, sure. I liked how originally I had like the two-tone in the background that was done mating the coordinating waffle flower stencil. The splatter was good, but I think I went a little overboard at the time. And was that supposed to be a snowflake? A flower? I'm not really sure how those were going to coordinate together. The idea was cute, but I think, again, too much splatter. So I didn't really end up using it for that project that I had done, but I still kept it because, hey, you never know. And I had thought that maybe if I cut them down, again, this is the front side of the die cut. So I was going to do this, but then I didn't really like the blue with the color scheme necessarily that I had, although blue floral wreath colors, you could certainly have blue ribbons, or if you maybe put, there could be blue berries in your wreath. There could be, maybe if you have words or signage that's in your wreath, you might have a blue color in there. So it certainly worked for the color scheme, but I didn't really like it for for my particular card. So I just simply flipped them over. Now some of them, the ink spots were coming through, especially on this one where I had a big blob in the middle. Don't know how that ended up right in the middle, but it kind of worked out. So I had the big blobby there, and I was like, oh, well, I got to cover them up. I can't just stamp on the back. And with the die cut, you can kind of see it's a little rougher. It's not quite as smooth as maybe the front, but when they were all placed down on the card, it to me didn't look that bad compared to how some dies may look. So I just kind of went with it. They reminded me of those old like stamps that you had to lick that maybe you got from the grocery store or something like that, that you had to save so many of those and then turn them in to get like a free pot and pan or, you know, other fun goodie that the grocery store would give going back in the day. So I didn't mind that so much, but by turning it over and then measuring it out like that, I enjoyed how that looked. So I was going to go with that. So little Mr. Lion, he's going to get glued down. Do you ever have oopsies like that where something just doesn't work out? I'm glad I ended up saving this white piece that I had die cut previously. It saved me an extra step. So that was quite nice. I love it when a plan comes together. And so when they were being bit, I know that's kind of a flub there, but it was nice that they came together and worked out so well in my benefit. So I don't like to necessarily throw things away. I will put it in my oopsie, let me just put this away and I will deal with it on a different day kind of pile. And that was how some of these hedgies ended up working out. But I am really glad that I did, because now I have a way to actually use it and I don't feel so wasteful. So I will have to keep that in mind in the event that I color with the postage stamp die set again in the future. If something doesn't work out, there's always the back side. So I like that a lot. Little Miss Flamingo looks like she's ready to party or dance. Can you imagine that there's probably some music going on? I mean, with Welcome to the Jungle, are any of you singing that song in your head? I bet you probably are. I can think of probably a couple people off the top of my head that are probably really singing the song a lot. Believe me, it went through my head quite a bit while I was gathering all these pieces together. Out of those colors, probably the peach pie and this pretty and pink color are some of my favorites, but you know, the more that I use this Petunia pop, I know, Team Purple, it reminds me of grape juice and I get really thirsty every time that I start to use it. Well, here's how I cut that down. Little Welcome to the Jungle. I did use some temporary adhesive there just to kind of put that together. I wanted a similar yellow to what was going on here, just for a little extra matte layer. Since I took so much time to make the sentiment, I wanted it without perhaps a lot of foam tape, because maybe this might be sent out in the mail, to be able to have a little extra oomph without having the actual oomph in the height. I'm sure that is a technical term and you will probably agree with me. Let me know if you have any other technical, fun, crafty terms like that. I'd be happy to know, because I might even use those terms too. All right, welcome to the jungle. All right, how do we want to place these down? When I first came up with this, they were a little more left-centered. I think if I was to do this similarly on my standard A2 card size that I'd like, I might not need all the pieces, but maybe I could just do 2 with a sentiment. That would be a lot of fun. Let's see. Mr. Lion, Mr. Well, this could be a Miss Elephant. I don't know. What you think? Kind of just rolling with it here. Yeah, looking good. the sloth. He looks very happy hanging out of his tree. So I like that. Maybe a little bit like that. And then Miss Flamingo, I swear, I feel like she should have roller skates on the bottoms of her feet. I don't think the stamp set actually had that, but can you imagine adding some little roller skates to her? Oh, she would just look adorable. And here we go. I might add some embellishments for this. Might not. I think it's kind of cute the way it is. I'm going to eyeball center that. Sorry if my head got in the way there or bounced the camera. Yeah, that looks good to me. And so let's go ahead and parameter check while I put my glue pen in my bottle here. So we have for project for episode 266 of Craft Roulette of A7. Well, A7 works out to be about a 5x7 card, so that's what I went with. 5x7, and this was a pre-made card base that I had in my stash, so that's exciting that I get to be able to use that. I also have the matching color envelope, so whoever may get this card sometime in the future will also have a nice yellow envelope to go with that, unless I decide to change that up, use a different color, maybe just a standard white. Hey, could have some fun with that. Floral wreath colors. Well, I went with yellow for flower centers. Same thing could be said for the brown. Green for all the extra fun greenery that is usually in a wreath. And then these fun colors, a different shade of green, maybe the floral tape that's used. And of course, orange. Orange looks great to me in flowers along with purple and especially pink. And you always have white, say like the little buds of maybe a baby's breath. Black is just, I think, that standard neutral color. You never know. If you had a sign, it might have some black lettering on it, so that could work too. As for lyrics, this is a title of a song by Guns N' Roses, and so I went ahead and put that on there because I thought that went really well with these jungle animals that I had. Maybe thinking they're ready to party, so maybe a congratulatory card, maybe a birthday card, you know, especially one that would be from like All of Us type of theme. So that could be neat. But that was my lyric that I used. And for Cinco or 5, I used 5 postage stamps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Believe all those parameters checked off. A7, check. Floral wreath colors, check. Lyrics, check. And Cinco, woo, check. All right. I really appreciate you stopping by today. Let me know if you had any favorite parts about this card or if you have any questions about any of the products that I used. And I'll talk to you on the next one.